Hello everyone and welcome to another round of the BUSR Audi TT series. I'm Frey, joined here by Dan, and you're joining us for this round at Zwartkops in South Africa. Really excited for this. It's another track that I really don't recognise. So I'm looking forward to seeing how our drivers have adapted and what sort of racing and, more importantly, qualifying we can get of them today.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for having me here. It's not a big track. I did some research. It's got 8 corners, a whopping 8, 2.4 kilometers, 1.5-ish miles. It's not a big track. If you look at the map, it looks oddly like Brands Hatch if it was drawn down the phone. It's in, like I said, South Africa. Nice sunny, hot weather. Assuming that, well, it's Assetto Corsa. There is always nice, hot, sunny weather. But even in real life, it's nice, hot, sunny South African weather. Yeah, it's a tiny track that I can guarantee you none of our drivers will have done many laps around. Some of them may have done a few laps before they started practicing, but I hadn't heard of it till I was doing my research for this race round. So yeah, it should be an interesting one as there's very little home track advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see what our drivers can pull out as we go into qualifying. Not sure what sort of lap times we're expecting to see, but I'm looking for them to be around the 1 minute mark, maybe slightly over, maybe slightly under. I don't know the speed of these TTs compared to the other cars that were on the lap record list, and out of the Wikipedia page, there are only 5 different cars that have ever set lap records around here, and the car that's been the fastest was a Formula 1 car from the 1989 season, which did a 58.8. I don't think our Audis will be that quick today, but you know, you never know. They might be. I think lap time's just over a minute. It may be scraping below, but we'll have to wait and see what our drivers can pull out today.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think we're going to be troubling any F1 cars or even GT3 cars for pace. They've only got 300 horsepower, maybe a little bit more with push to pass turned on, but 310 horsepower-ish, 1.1 tons. That F1 car will have had significantly more than that, even though it was a backmarker Dallara rather than a front-running Williams or Ferrari or McLaren of the time. But yeah, a very short lap should mean that lap traffic might be a problem, especially if you have a spin or two. You're going to be right there being lapped pretty quickly. Lap times, as you said, 1 minute is well, probably a bit ambitious, but 1 minute 5, 1 minute 10 kind of mark feels about right. So qualifying will be less stressful than it has been before. Of course, back in the Slovakia ring, that track was 3.888 miles as opposed to 1.49 today, over twice the length. So yeah, qualifying should be a lot less stressful, a lot more attempts, a lot quicker lap times. We'll have to see how that goes when it starts, but when we get broadcast of it very soon.
Indeed, our drivers are going to be, really kind of scrapping for space out there. As you said before, this track's very short, not a lot of corners, not really a lot of wiggle room. So I think it's going to be on our drivers to put in a good show, put in a good performance, and see what they can pull out during quali.
Absolutely. Just a reminder before we start seeing cars on circuit, there is a lot of ballast going on. Of course, previous race winners and the like have got ballast, 75 kilos for series leader Ryan Daubigny, all the way down to sort of 5 kilos for 10th place. So any of the top 10 drivers in the overall standings have got that extra ballast. So most of the series regular winners, Josh Woolley, Ryan Daubigny, like I said, Larson, all have weight ballast, which around such a short track shouldn't have a massive advantage, but we'll have to see how these cars behave with the extra weight on board.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of the corners that I can see on the track map seem to be kind of quite fast sweeping corners with a few kind of tight, heavy braking zones, looking into things like turn 2 and turns 5 and 6 are both quite tight corners, but the cars might be affected a little bit there. You're adding on some extra weight, which will make them a bit more sluggish around the corners, but we'll just have to wait and see, because a lot of our drivers, it feels like they can kind of drive around that ballast as opposed to having to just live with the fact that their cars are going to be a bit slower. It feels like they're almost using the ballast to their advantage in some instances.
Absolutely. Ballast is obviously a very hard thing to get right. Some championships don't bother, like Formula One. They don't really try. Some championships have used it in the past and then have since scrapped it. So British touring cars had ballast for most of the 2010s, and they scrapped it for the hybrid boost system, which was a bid for more environmental driving, as well as also to peg your leaders back. But normal sports car racing, hypercar racing at Le Mans, that all uses weight-based BOP along with other sort of fancy stuff. So if any of these guys have driven in other sim series that run ballast, they'll know what they're doing. If they've driven in the game you can see on the background there, Assetto Corsa Competizione, or maybe in Le Mans Ultimate, they might know more about, or iRacing, they'll know more about ballast and how it behaves. But yeah, it's not had a massive effect on Ryan Daubigny, who's won, well, not quite every race, but it's won near enough every race he's entered so far, and is very much leading the series. So we'll have to see if that is changing here and Zwartkops.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only other series that I know of that runs this success ballast is Japanese GT, so Super GT, not to be confused with the YouTube content creator. I think they run a success ballast, and you can kind of see how successful a car has been because they put stickers on some of the windows of the car, if I remember correctly. I don't know if they still do that, but I remember seeing a trailer for Super GT, and they were like, this is the thing that distinguishes us from all the rest of the GT series, because our ballast is about how successful the drivers and the cars are. As now we're going to be seeing if those success penalties are going to be making much of a difference. You can just see, how small the pit lane is. It practically looks like someone's garage as we are looking at some of the other cars as they're coming out on track for the first time in quali. If I can be perfectly honest, I've never actually seen this track, but it looks very, very small. Not a lot of room around the track. No nice runoff areas that you can kind of abuse the track limits with. It's just grass, and let me tell you, grass and slick tyres do not mix well. So our drivers are going to have to be very, very cautious when it comes to trying to maximise the track, because if they make one little mistake, they're going to wind up in the grass and probably slide a little bit further than they'd want to, as we watch Daubigny now go around the final corner of turn number 8 for their first flying lap here at Zwartkops.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very tiny track with absolutely no margin for error. It has a very British club sport kind of vibe to it. It's very much, like you said, Brands Hatch, Alton Park sort of size. It's not like Silverstone where you've got all those massive runoffs, or sort of Circuit of the Americas or Paul Ricard where you've got those weird rubbery strips on the floor that slow you down. This is very much, if you go off, there's a few bits of grass so you can realise you've made a mistake before you smash headlong into a wall. Luckily, the damage model in this game isn't quite as brutal as other sim racing titles, but it's still going to affect performance. It still might knock a suspension out of whack, and in worst case scenarios, you might terminally damage the car, or just, the loss of confidence, if nothing else, from having a crash will be impacted here. Heavy on the brakes, turning in, hooking it round, putting the power down now. You see there's two we might call grandstands. I think grand's a bit of an exaggeration for those ones, but they definitely got fans in them, so evidently there are fake people here, as are real people, otherwise you wouldn't be hearing this now. As we come towards the last corner, on the brakes here, turn it in left, keep the power on. The car ahead has run very wide, just as we said you should not do, getting out of the way and across the line there for Rob Dabini, starting his lap. That was an out lap apparently, or maybe that, I don't know. He's starting another lap. We're seeing lap times in below 1 minute so far, sort of 1 minute 3, 1 minute 4, 1 minute 5s. As Josh Woolley disconnects from the server, never mind. I'm sure he'll be fine with that. 1 minute 3.5. O'Leary to put it on second, but we've not had enough cars that really to be a representational place.
Yeah, it seems like the lap times are roughly around the GTC and Super Cup times that we've seen in the South African Touring Car Championship, which are, in terms of the lap records at this track, are the slower cars, but then again, all the other cars that have done laps around here have been lightweight, downforce heavy open wheel races, or a GT3 car. And I think trying to compare the Audi TTs to that is kind of like comparing apples to oranges, or I guess comparing one smaller, less flavourful apple to a gigantic apple the size of it. I don't know, this is a weird tangent I'm going down. Regardless, they're very different cars, and yeah, it looks like the lap times that we've kind of guesstimated seem to be accurate, as Dabini set a 1 minute 3.1. I believe that is only their first lap, so there's probably a little bit more time on the table for them. O'Leary in second place, 3.5 tenths back. Woolley back but from first by about half a second. Larson trailing just behind Woolley, and Hughes in fifth place. We've got some more drivers who are still trying to set some valid laps. Again, it's very, very easy to make a mistake around a track like this, where you've really not got much space and you're just trying to maximise how much of the track you can use to be as fast as possible, as this green and red car is going to come across the line of Mohammed, who I believe that last lap was invalid, so they'll be coming around the second corner now, braking hard into this kind of hairpin, hugging the inside line, and really just trying to use all the space on the exit, running the left-hand wheels on the curb. I think they'll probably be taking this corner flat, even in these TT Cup cars, trying to minimise the distance on the track, braking at the curb on the left, hugging the right-hand side, using all of the space that you can, coming over the crest. Eventually we'll see the car. There it is. As again, hitting the brakes just after the curb. It's a heavy braking zone as we come into this final sector. Turn number 6, followed by number 7. I don't know if the corners actually have any names, but into the final corner Mohammed goes now, in an attempt to make their time a little bit faster. Let's see if they can get any upgrades on the table. Up to P7 they go, now on board with Perkins, who is 4 tenths back from the lead. Dabini still not improving their time just yet, although I say that, they do look like they're on for a decent lap, but Perkins at the moment is setting really, really good times. We've got, I don't know how many drivers, I think we've got either 15 or 16 drivers today, which is pretty decent attendance, I would say. As we are now looking at Woolley in what I like to call the Tron Audi, with the kind of neon colours coming across the finish line, out that final corner, trying to use all the curb. Manages to improve his time. Very, very good job from Woolley there to get up into second place with a 1 minute 3.4. I mean, Dabingi it seems to be, he's in a world of his own up there. He's finding time that none of these other drivers are finding, which, I don't know, maybe he's just really, really used to these sorts of cars. You know, we've seen him put in really, really good performances in a lot of these other races, and especially in qualifying. So I'm excited to see what they can do in the race, as O'Leary looks like they improve their time, but not their position. As Goldsmith definitely improved his position, jumps up to P7. Still watching Woolley through the final sector of the track. No, that's Goldsmith, never mind. I am blind. Coming through turn number 3. Again, these corners are very fast and flowing, with a few kind of technical, heavy braking zones that I think will make for some really good opportunities for overtaking.
Yeah, it's going to be a good track here. As you see lots of drivers coming across here, a lot of frantic action in qualifying so far. Daubigny gone even quicker now, that gap up to half a second. It's a 1 and a bit minute lap time and he's half a second now. There's a monster gap now. It's 8 minutes of qualifying down the Audi power in there. Here we see Larson coming through the last corner. Larson's been consistently near the front end of the pack so far, with class wins overall, podiums and wins and all of that sort of trophies and times. New personal best by Will Butsy there, but Larson still in 6th place, comes out of turn 2. Mohammed up in 5th place, just ahead of him, only half a tenth ahead of him. That is what he's going to be aiming for, to try and get above that, try and push forward, get past Mohammed, get past Perkins, get into that let's be honest, he's aiming for Daubigny, but realistically Woolley and O'Leary are probably where he's aiming for. They're in that half a second back in the 1 minute 2.5, sorry, 1 minute 3.5, 1 minute 3.4, that sort of area now, keeping the power down. Love those road markings there. This is not a street circuit, so I'm not sure why they're there, but they are. Anyway, running on the curbs, not putting on the grass, brakes glowing hard on them to get round that corner now as we come toward the end of the lap. It's such a short lap now, nearly a minute mark, so sort of an F1 car is finishing their lap around about now as our Audi comes round the last corner here to come across the line. Is it an improvement from Larson? Not to my knowledge, no.
No, I think that's about 3/10 off of his best lap as well, 1 minute 3.9. I think he's definitely got the time in him. It's just about piecing together the perfect lap with so few corners. Really getting any sort of time out of these cars is going to be about the finest of fine details. As we can see, Perkins really using all of the curb, all of the track, just trying to push the car as hard as possible, about 6/10 off the lead, using, well, slightly more than all of the track as they put a couple wheels in the grass there. Coming out of the final corner, using all of that curb on the right hand side. I don't believe they improved their time, but you can see just how hard they're pushing to try and just get any time that they can.
Smaller tracks have advantages and disadvantages in qualifying. The advantage is you get to do a lot of laps. Lap times are a minute long. It's a 20-minute session. You're not going to get all 10 laps in, but you can definitely do sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 laps of solid, fast, on-pace driving, assuming you don't cook tyres or pit too often or have too many accidents. So that's an advantage. The disadvantage is that there's not many corners to actually make time up. You've got to do every single corner absolutely perfectly, otherwise you're going to not have enough racetrack to make time up. There might be one corner where you're super strong here, but if there's only one corner you're super strong at, you're going to struggle. But there's only 8 of them, so that's 7 corners you're weak at. Really, you need to put in your lap and get it absolutely perfect, because it's such a short lap, such short times. 1 minute 2.9 is our pole position time now, as we are halfway through qualifying already there. Mohammed and Perkins both jumping up to second and third. Mohammed in second now. Still half a second back on Daubigny, but that battle for in the 0.5 and then some time things at the front is very, very close there. Mohammed, Perkins, Larson, Woolley and O'Leary all within 6 thousandths of each other? 600
about 6 hundredths of each other between the P2 to P6. So the fight at the front is very tight, although the man leading the way in P1, it feels like he's in a bit of a class of his own, as Goldsmith puts in a really solid lap time, a 1 minute 3.3333333, puts themselves up into second place. the striking blue livery Audi manages to get his way onto the front row for this race. And we've seen him challenge towards the front in some of the reverse grid races, and we've seen he does have the pace to be able to front run. It's just about getting in the right place at the right time. And again, as you said earlier, qualifying is going to be really tricky here. There's that stage, I think, that you reach in racing where you really start to not see as much difference from putting in a lot more time. You might be losing about a tenth on each corner, just from like braking a bit later, or braking a bit too early, or getting on the throttle too late, or it's these tiny little errors, that this fine detail that you need to kind of focus on to be able to extract as much lap time as possible. So if you are losing a tenth in each corner here, that's 8 tenths you're leaving on the table. It doesn't sound like a lot if you're looking at each corner individually, but trust, these tiny little details matter in the grand scheme of things, because it'll just push you that little bit further. And I'd say about 90% of races that I know are in that kind of stage of feeling like there's no more pace you can get out of your car, of just kind of wallowing in this pit of, I feel like no matter how much effort I'm putting in, I'm just doing the same stuff, or like I can't get that detail. But I think it's all about perseverance and just getting the time in, you know, talking to people, having a community around you that can really help you to kind of thrive in your area. I think that's what's also lovely about BUSR, is Goldsmith goes off at the final corner. Very unfortunate from them, so they're probably going to be restarting their lap back to the pit for some fresh tyres probably, and heading right back out. It looks like they might be bolting on some soft tyres, or maybe mediums. I assume that's what those little marks next to the time mean. I can't tell. Regardless, Daubigny is in pole position for now with a 1 minute 2.954, and they are still trying to get as much pace as they can out of this Audi, coming through the final couple of corners now. They're going to be pushing really, really hard.
Green in sector 2, I'm not sure if that was spotted there by you guys at home, but he's gone green in sector 2 by a tenth. Daubigny is absolutely pedal to the metal. 11, turn the volume up to 11 kind of pace here. Coming around the last side, a little twitch on the coming into the corner there. That will not have helped his lap time, but he's so clear already. We'll have to see what kind of time he crosses the line there. A 1:03 dead, ever so slightly slower. More twitching there on turn 1. His setup is looking well, at least in those 2 corners. 2 twitches in 2 corners. Maybe he's gone for a very risky high-speed setup that caused lots of twitches. The Frenchman here running really quite well so far. But yeah, trying to improve there, but didn't quite make it now as he comes round, having another crack at it. Will that wobble have affected his sector 1 time? Yes, definitely. He's 1.2 seconds down in sector 1. This is not going to be a push lap for him. As Perkins jumps up to sector 2, only 2 tenths down on Daubigny. That his gap is shrinking at the front. Daubigny needs to get his act together, really. He's only 2 tenths clear. What is this? What's happening?
I mean, we have seen that gap getting smaller and smaller as the season seems to be progressing. But Daubigny, again, he's still well clear, and considering that this lap is very short, 2 tenths is still a pretty large gap. If this were a larger track with kind of more opportunities to gain that time, I think that 2 tenths would seem like a lot of a smaller gap. But in a track like this, where there's only 8 corners and there's 2.4 kilometers worth of circuit, that 2 tenths is a pretty sizable gap. I think our drivers will be pushing as hard as they can to try and match Daubigny, hopefully to beat them. And I mean, Daubigny's just shown incredible pace throughout the season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the races. Was that some obstruction there? I think unintentionally. Maybe Willie ran a little bit wide, and the blue car that was kind of going wide in that corner to let the other bike car pass, I think Willie might have just had a bit of a scare, and has now reset to the pit lane. We've got about 4 minutes left of qualifying as we're now watching Perkins, who's managed to take the front row back 2 tenths away from Daubigny.
looking really close at the front between, well, that's sort of, well, Dubbiny and Goldsmith now both broken that half a second away from, well, 1 minute 3.5 kind of barrier there, as we see just coming round towards the end of the lap now, 49.50 seconds out of a, well, it's 1 and a bit minute lap time, so Perkins right at the end decides to bail on this lap and appears to slow down and stop at the side of the track there, and evidently not the lap that she was looking for. We cut back to Wooly now. Obviously, we just had that accident. New personal best by Adam Bent there, 1 minute 3.5. He's now in 7th place, just behind the man we're watching, Wooly. Half a second down after that last lap. This must be an out lap now after he got pushed off. Well, pushed off, went wide. We don't know. That's an issue for other people to sort out. That isn't me. Now coming around the last corner, he's going to start a flying lap. Look at that, so controlled, so smooth, no twitches, no wobbles, just grip. Here we go, crossing the laser beam. Now, there we go, lap started for Willie. Here he goes, he's got 2 minutes 51 on the clock, cut to turn 1 very, very sharply, onto the brakes, around the hairpin for turn 2. Lovely tight corner there. Just roll the power on, hope the front wheel drive doesn't wash you out there. Coming towards turn 3, there's a car backwards on the outside. It's sim racing, that's completely fine, none of us care. Up to the sector 1 timing board around about now. Let's see, plus 2.42, ever so slightly back there. Not what he's looking for. He'll be looking for get that down as close as he can to 0, maybe even into the negatives. Server PB by Owen Goldsmith puts him up to P2 now. Just, well, very, 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 very close to Daubigny in first place there for Owen now, as Josh Woolley's still finishing his lap off. Another sort of third of a lap to go there, up the inside of that BUSR liveried car now. Woolley coming towards the end of his lap, 1 more corner to go. Can he get it right? Can he nail the brakes and push up past 6th, which I think he would see as a little bit of a letdown in qualifying. He's aiming for higher than that, puts the power on, comes out of the last corner. Where's the line? Where is it? What's his time going to be? There it is, plus 7.51 down, not a new personal best for Woolley. He's going to have another go.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see how hard these drivers are pushing to try and maximise that time. I mean, Goldsmith, just 300th back from pole position. That's more the gap I was expecting towards the front. But the Flying Frenchman is, of course, going to be trying to keep his title and send it around this track as hard as they possibly can. And seeing if they can take yet another win after qualifying, hopefully. It'll all depend on what chaos may or may not unfold. Got another car parked on the sand. As the ever-famous saying goes, you can't park there, mate. Daubigny is using all of the track, trying to maximise their entry speed. It looks like they went a little bit wide out of that final corner. I'm not sure if that lap time counts. I think that might have been an out lap, actually, as we are in the last 45 seconds of the qualifying session. Larson now coming up the hill, over the crest and into the final sector of the track. He's just about a 10th off of his previous best lap. We've seen a little shift around in the midfield. Perkins has disconnected from the server, it seems. Hopefully there's no internet issues there, as Larson comes across the final corner, blasts across the line, and goes up into P3 with 1 minute 3.297. Immediately, well, I'd say immediately dethroned by Perkins. Perkins is already there, so technically that's more of an improvement for time, but not for position, as Goldsmith is trying to find that last 300th of a second to try and beat Daubigny on the track in qualifying. They are on the front row for now, which should give them a pretty decent advantage into the race. Don't know if this lap is going to count though, as it looks like the timer on the right seems to be very, very high. So whether that's a glitch on our side or if this is just a lap where Goldsmith has had some sort of mistake, I'm not sure. White has gone up to P9 as well. I think they're another one of our drivers with plenty of ballast. Again, using all of the track, that inside curb as well. Goldsmith blasting across the line. It's a 1 minute 3.0. It's just less than a 10th off his previous best. He's still on the front row for this race. We have another car crossing the line now. Hughes, who is 1.2 seconds back from pole position. found themselves in 12th place. And I think that's maybe all of our drivers who are done with laps. We might have a few more that are still out there. It looks like Hughes is our only driver that is still out on track, and I'm pretty sure he crossed after the overtime was called, which should mean his lap is finished, and this will be our starting order for the race. Daubigny on pole, the Flying Frenchman, once again proving why I have given him this nickname, because I deemed it so, with another pole position in their name. Goldsmith, just 300th back, puts themselves on the front row. Perkins in P3 with a fantastic lap time, followed by Larson and Mohammed for P5. We've got plenty of drivers on the grid. I think that we saw 17 partaking in qualifying. And I'm very excited to see what happens in this race. It's a lot of cars with not a lot of track to go around. So let's just hope there isn't too much chaos on the track today.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like we've said so many times, it's under 2.5 kilometers. This is a tiny. We had the 6 kilometer Slovakia ring 2 weeks ago, and now we're down to the 2.4 kilometer Zwartkops Raceway. It is a tiny track with a lot of cars in a very small area, and that lap from Owen right to put him up to P2 there is hopefully is a sign of things to come. Dirk has pretty much had free reign over race 1 so far, with that sort of absolutely dominant race start and then just running away with it. Very little problems for him so far in race 1s. He's won the last 2 of them on the bounce, and previously has been, well, near the front, 4th, 5th, 1st, 2nd, 1st, 3rd kind of thing. He's right at the front in every single one of these races. He's a competitive driver, but Owen Greensmith came in last round, got a class victory, overall victory, lots of points in race 1 as well, sort of thing. So despite that only being in one race, he's currently sitting nowhere near the bottom of the standings in the series. He's in 13th, which for doing one round is really quite impressive. So we're going to have to see who gets the jump off the start, who can get that good run into that quite a short run down to turn 1, then up round to the hairpin of turn 2. So it's going to be interesting to see, will Greensmith be able to challenge Daubigny for race wins going into the second half of the season that starts out next time round for round 5?
I'm thinking maybe. I don't know where P2 would put you, but traditionally I think second place puts you in more of an advantageous position on the inside. I don't know if that is the way here, but I think also getting a really good launch off the line could really help Goldsmith. Of course, there is not a lot of track to go around. Not only is it a short track, it's also quite a thin track. I mean, even with these Audi TTs, which I'd say are quite small compared to most other modern racing cars that we see nowadays, I think there's barely enough room for them to go 2, maybe 3 wide, as we've got 3 minutes remaining before the race starts. So do you think it's time we should talk about the main is it sponsor, provider? Gridfinder. We love Gridfinder here. We have the promo video around here somewhere, so allow us to dig that out. How's that for fulfilling a contractual obligation? I'm just kidding. Of course, Gridfinder, our provider for this race, who have helped us to really get off to a really good start, finding a community, putting ourselves out there, and getting some awesome people from all around the world, and the UK, of course, to race with us. Gridfinder is brilliant if you want to find a community or find a race, anything. If you can think of a sim that you want to drive, there's probably a community out there hosting a race ready for you to get out on track. And of course, there's us. If you want to join BUSR, maybe. We've got a fantastic community here. So don't forget, you can also join the Discord, busr.gg/Discord. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting to mention during this little interval between quali and the race?
I mean, main thing is that sign-ups are open for future rounds. If you look at this TT race, you go, "Gosh, that lot looks so slow. I could go faster than them." And you have access to the right game and the right PC to run it. And then, yeah, come and have a look. Come and ask questions. Sign up. Join us out here. We've still got many more races to go. Some of them are more familiar tracks. You know, you might have heard of them. Donington Park, the Nürburgring. You know, tracks you've heard of rather than tracks you haven't. So if you're thinking, I don't know Zwartkops, I'd have no chance, I'd be right off the back, but I know the Nürburgring, then off you come. It's not the full loop, because of course that would be boring, well, or insane, one or the other. It's the littler loop, you know, the GP circuit kind of thing. But yeah, the Nürburgring, Donington Park, amongst other places, up and coming this season. So yeah, if you see this and want to have a go, then come and join us. We have other series on a Saturday night. We run Formula One, and we have iRacing throughout the week as well. And in different times in the year, we run different championships. In January and February, we had Assetto Corsa as competitions. Then we go 5 red lights, 6 red lights, and it's lights out on race 1 there for the Audi TT Cup. Excellent getaways from the front there. Owen appears to be going up the inside of Dominic into turn 1. Can he make it stick? They're side by side coming out towards the hairpin, which is the right hand bend, so Downey will have the inside line, hard on the brakes. There's a crash behind. The third place car gets punted around, keeps it on the road. Goldsmith absolutely trying his best. Car off on the gravel on the inside and on the outside on the grass. Downey up the inside of Owen. Change for the lead coming out of turn 1 there. We're seeing more racing. So much. I mean, we've got cars line and stern all the way down the pack here. There's a car off on the background. Chaos. Touring cars. It's excellent. Contact is technically not allowed, but we all know that's not true now as we come over the hill. Downey leading at lap 1 on the timing screens. I have to wait for the camera to pan back round to see if he is side by side here in the mid pack. The yellow car on the green car, no idea who's driving them, but they're both having a good time there. There we go. It's still Owen in the lead there. The timing sheets have not updated. Owen running up there. Yes, there's a move for third there. Josh Woolley getting up into third place, that qualifying position. We knew it was out of place for him as we come across the end lap 1. There we go. The timing now giving it to us. Goldsmith, Dogney, Woolley, Perkins, O'Leary down to White for the top 6. And here we go, everyone else sort of filtering through. Lots of chaos on this opening lap here. Third place, but Perkins now down to 4th place. Woolley has got up past them. I'm not sure if I have a second commentator. If so, he'll come back later on. But for now, it's just me and a bunch of Audi TTs having a lot of chaos really. There's lots of moving in the background there. Just manning and they don't know. Losing places down 14th, 15th. Bent Larson moving up places. Larson probably the big loser on that, down to 13th place there, just ahead. But yes, just manning and they don't know. Nose to tail for 14th place Larson. As I said, 13th place. He had a rubbish first lap, got punted around evidently at the start. That is not where he qualified. Now chasing down the pack, trying to make some moves. There, big group ahead. That's Bent, Hughes, TRM, and the other Hughes. There's 2 Hugheses in here. No idea which one's which. We've got a yellow car ahead of a blue car. But yes, so we're going to look for Larson coming back up through the pack. Zurek on the back of one of the Hugheses. Larson. I'm so sorry to the guy doing the broadcast now. I'm all over the place, but never mind. We're carrying on. Fastest lap for Josh Woolley there in a 1 minute 3.2. Side by side, Larson up the inside of both of those cars, ran into the last corner, just hugging that inside very, very, very tightly. Oh, and there's been a car being pushed wide there behind. 2 cars pushed wide, one of them completely spearing off violently into the infield. No idea where they're going. Lava drifting on the grass there from TRM. Their race is, it's all but over now. They've stopped on the wrong side of the circuit. They've actually managed to go all the way through and joined back on well after where they went off. So they're going to have some interesting conversations with the in-game rule system to do with corner cutting as they rejoin reasonably safely. No one's had bars, a little bit of dodging, but nothing too awful. Staying out of the way to get back up to speed before pulling back onto circuit there.
Yeah, it has been a chaotic start to the race. Goldsmith is leading with Debini and Woolley just behind. The Frenchman is pressuring that light blue Audi into the first quarter. Around the track, I'd say. Woolley holding P3 with a charging Perkins right behind. O'Leary and White not too far back from either of them. A lot of these drivers are setting purple lap times as the track seems to be getting faster. I believe it is Hughes currently with the fastest lap time. I don't actually know if purple means fastest overall or if it just means fastest personal lap. I'm not sure how Assetto, of course, handles them. It's not a sim I'm very familiar with, but we've got a really cracking fight for the lead here. We've got 16 minutes left of the race, only 4 minutes in to this first kind of initial sprint. And don't forget, the next round has a reverse grid, as we see Larson looking for a move around the outside of the black, white and red car. Doesn't make that stick, but he switches it back to the inside, ready for the next corner of turn number 5. Makes that move, bit of argy-bargy between the two, but otherwise makes it stick. Bit of door banging, but you know what they say, rubbing is racing, as they come through turn number 7, down the kind of... It's not really a back straight, is it? Through turn number 8 and onto the next lap of the race. Each driver, it seems like they're all involved in their own fight. Up and down the grid, we're having lots of awesome battles. Larson now trying to get to the back of Zurek. Let's not forget, the next race will be a reverse grid for the top 10. So Larson currently is on reverse grid pole. So you kind of do have to balance whether you want to push for the reverse grid or if you want to try and push for now. Perkins and Woolley getting involved in a bit of a fight. We saw Perkins get a bit of an overtake on them, but Woolley got it right back. Looking to the inside of the final corner, can't make it stick, but it might just throw Woolley off the line, which could give Perkins a really decent opportunity to turn 1. They're really making themselves known, putting them in the mirrors of Woolley, but just can't make that move stick just yet. So we're having a bit of a slide from O'Leary behind, who hits Perkins in the braking zone. White makes their way up into P5 past the sliding car of O'Leary. I think that was probably a lock-up, or maybe getting on the curbs a bit too hard there. Perkins is still managing to keep it going though in P4, but that gap ahead to Woolley has opened up to just around a second, as White is still trying to make his way through. Debigny is really hounding Goldsmith for the position, makes him go a little bit wide, looks for a move on the inside, thinks better of it. Goldsmith is really, he's shown previously how talented he is when it comes to defensive driving, and Debigny is really just looking to get in his mirrors and scare him off his line. It looks like it might have worked. Goldsmith with 2 tyres in the gravel. Debigny looking for a move up the inside at turn number 1. Goldsmith leaves the room, but for turn number 2, Goldsmith with the inside line forces Debigny wide, looking for the undercut on the exit. Can't make that move stick. Through turn number 3 they go. Debigny is trying to not get affected by the dirty air. Doesn't seem to be affecting the cars that much. Through turn 4 they go. It's another fast sweeper as we come into turn number 5. Over the crest, Debigny looks for a move, but tucks back in behind. This is a really decent strategy we're seeing from Debigny, not actually going for any of these overtakes, just trying to make sure they know he's there. O'Leary makes a move on James White in the number 502 Audi. I think I said 502. I can't really read properly because the cars are going by so quickly. Yes, I was right. Okay, I can read. I don't need a checkup from the optometrist. O'Leary has a 2-second gap to Woolley just ahead. So they're going to... to Perkins just ahead. And is going to try and narrow that gap down as much as they can. Debigny is still hounding Goldsmith for first place. We've seen just how good Goldsmith can be when it comes to defensive driving, and I think he's just able to keep his cool for a long period of time. Debigny's kind of hoping that, I reckon like a lot of other drivers, he kind of drives in his mirrors a little bit, looks behind him, and is just worried, gets scared. That's what Debigny's hoping. He's hoping that by getting in his mirrors and making it look like he's going to go for the move, the door will just open for him. But Goldsmith is saying, no thank you, I'm not falling for your tricks. So Debigny's going to have to really pull out something very tactical and smart, or just lick the stamp and send it through one of these corners. We're just going to have to wait and see, but the qualifying pace, very similar between these two, so it is going to be a thing of strategy, as Debigny's basically pushing Goldsmith through the first corner, looks for a bit of a move things could have gone a bit bad there with how close these cars are getting. Goldsmith a little bit wide in the exit. Dabini looking like they're peeling alongside for turn number 3. Goldsmith around the outside, Dabini up the inside. The two cars going wheel to wheel as Goldsmith is holding on to what he's got through turn number 4 now. Manages to keep a good hold of first place. Dabini just able to stay behind, looking for a move up the inside at turn number 5 again. This is the same strategy we've seen Dabini do, and a lot of the other drivers of just looking for the move, hoping that the door opens up by scaring them away. You know, it's a very, very good racing strategy. If the drivers that you're racing against maybe aren't used to that tactic, or if they are less experienced. But we've seen just how good Goldsmith is behind the wheel. I don't know how long he's been racing here at BUSR, but pretty sure he's seen his fair share of racing tactics. So it's going to take a really smart move to try and, or an even smarter move, I should say, to get past Goldsmith for the top position in the race. As we're seeing a lot of other drivers up and down the grid trying to make overtakes. Dabini is still pressuring Goldsmith, looking for very similar moves at very similar corners, just trying to maximise that exit speed, looking to pull alongside at turn number 5. Can't get alongside, has to pull back on, but it looks like the strategy's finally worked as through turn number 6 they go, I believe. Little bit of contact between the two, but Goldsmith did just go a little bit wide at one of those corners and has let Dabini back through. Defends to the inside of the final corner, which might compromise his exit coming onto the pit straight. Goldsmith's going to have to chase Dabini down to try and get back past, as it looks like we are already approaching lapped traffic. I believe that was one of the drivers who had went off and crossed on the other side of the circuit earlier on in the race, as Perkins and Woolley are battling for the final spot on the podium of this first feature race. I suppose they're both sprint races. Race 1, let's call it race 1 of this round, as Perkins is, look, the strategy does seem to work. Look up the inside, kind of let the driver ahead know that you're there, getting in their mirrors and just hoping to scare them off their line, take a better line through the corner, or just hope that they mess up on entry, maybe turning in a bit late, braking too late. It's all about strategy. Like I'd said in the last round, I believe, racing is mostly mind games. Pace does, of course, matter, but once you're trying to make those overtakes, you really just have to get in the head of the driver in front of you and just try and figure out how they're thinking, and just try and apply the pressure in a way that will allow you to get by them. So, you know, if you're in a community like BUSR, for example, you'll find everyone has their own way of going about things, everyone has their own way of racing, and I think by getting involved in these sorts of communities, you'll figure out what makes each of these drivers tick, because we've got two cars off the road trying to rejoin safely. Yeah, it is a lot of psychology involved in racing, and you really just have to think about how other drivers think to get those overtakes done. So yeah, Perkins still putting on the pressure, as we've seen Mohammed make a move up the inside of White, manages to make it stick really well. White is now down in P7. Mohammed looks like they had a little bit of a slide through that last corner. White is really just trying to push to hound him, to try and get that position. Goldsmith just about 3.5 tenths off of Dabini. Looks like he might be gaining time through this corner. Perkins looks like they might have used that lapped traffic to get by Woolley there, as the black and blue Audi on the left-hand side trying to let the faster cars through. or at least cars that are a lap ahead of them through. Goldsmith is still just about 3/10 back from Debigny, trying to make that move whenever they can, however they can, with just about 6 minutes left to go in the race. It'll be about 7 or 8 laps, I think, left in this race, as we are seeing our drivers crossing the finish line again to start their next lap. Goldsmith trying to pile the pressure onto Debigny, trying to get him to crack and to try and make that move for first place.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a very close race with the guys at the front there, and also with Perkins and Woolley behind. Traffic starting to have an impact, as we see, because it's such a short lap time. 1 minute 2, 1 minute 3 to our front runners. They've already done 13 laps. That is a lot of laps if it was a longer circuit, but because it's so short, lap traffic will play a part. Maybe Goldsmith is just praying and hoping that one of the back markers has an off, gets dropped back into the way of Debigny, and he can make a move past. But we'll have to see now. There are gaps starting to form, but there's still a decent number of cars within that second margin that you look for whenever you're looking for good racing. You look for that 1 second gap and think, yeah, that's a gap we should watch on the broadcast, and that's what we're doing now, watching the battle for the lead. Goldsmith won the reverse race grid last time. Debigny has won basically every single other race. Not quite, but nearly all of them. Here we go. White, Larson in that mid-pack. Larson obviously having an absolutely shocking start to the race, dropped right the way back to the mid-teens. Low to mid-teens. Here we go, he's recovered back up to 7th. Debigny set a server fastest lap of 2 minutes 6.68, but Larson is the driver we are focusing on right now, down through the last corner in the middle of this sandwich here. Mohammed ahead, White behind. Larson keeping that pressure on, trying to make up points. He's evidently not thinking about race 2 whatsoever, and is just thinking, I need points. This is a recovery drive. The red mist, that anger, the little bit of anger at race 1, maybe that is affecting him, maybe it isn't. We'll have to find out after the race if we get to interview him. For now, he's chasing Mohammed hard, running a little bit wide on the curb. We know he's faster than this. His lap time in qualifying put him up with that front running pack of Debigny, Goldsmith, Woolley, Perkins kind of thing, but everybody else just behind.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of these drivers who maybe don't have the best start to the race able to recover well, as we see the black and blue Audi again pulling off the track, trying to let the other cars by. It looks like there might have been a bit of a tangle there with some of the other cars. Can't exactly see what happened, but that's TRM who is all the way down the grid. Hughes looking like they're making a few improvements, as White, I think, might have got caught up in that kind of crash. Maybe. I can't really tell, but that does put White on reverse pole. Yeah, that was White that had gone off, which has given Hughes and Bent a free position, but this has actually put White on reverse grid pole if they can keep it here. I mean, that gap to the cars ahead opened up to about 4 seconds behind by about 1.5. As we're now looking for the fight for P3, about half a second between Perkins and Woolley, who are looking to make any sort of move they can. Larson also looking for a move on Mohammed, looks to the outside, maybe looking to switch back on the exit. Doesn't look like they can do that. Trying to get a little bit of slipstream in the mirrors of the red and green Audi ahead, as Larson is trying to use all of the track. Looks like there might have been a little bit of a lock-up there from Mohammed, so Larson's clearly putting that pressure on well, as Larson is chasing him down, trying to use all the track. A little bit of a slide on the brakes, it looked like, from Mohammed, as Larson uses all of that room, all of the track, even the grey painted runoff area, as Mohammed defends to the inside for turn number 1. Or took a little bit of a tight line on entry, it seemed like. Larson trying to maximise the exit as much as they can, trying to make that move on Mohammed, trying to open up, or trying to close the gap, between themselves and the car ahead. It looks like the gap is opening up slightly, but the number, I think that's 129 driver, is going to try and put on as much pressure as they can and really just try and make some sort of move happen. Hughes and Bent looks like they're kind of exchanging positions a little bit further down the grid. Dabini and Goldsmith still very, very close to each other, but Dabini has opened up that gap a little bit. We've got just over a minute to go. As we can see, Hughes and Ben are going wheel to wheel. It's a very, very close fight here. This might actually just about invite White back into this fight for P8. But if it does go all the way back to White, it does mean that the loser overall of a three-way battle will be on reverse grid pole. Ben basically pushing Hughes through the braking zone, as they're really just trying to use all the space in the exit, trying to maximise the speed. Larson looks like they are almost alongside. Mohammed defending to the inside, knows he can only make one move under the braking. Larson carrying more speed, goes for the switchback at turn number 5, and into 6 they go, using the inside line. A little bit of door banging there, but it looks relatively fair as Larson, Mohammed managed to keep it on track. Larson does not gain that position. I couldn't tell if that was just a loss of speed from the collision, or if that was Larson trying to maybe back off a bit so as to not maybe get himself a penalty for causing a collision and gaining an advantage because of it. As we're approaching the final part of this race, the gap at the front has gotten smaller and smaller. As a matter of fact, it looks like we're going to have an exchange for the lead. Goldsmith up the inside at turn number 5, and he's only got to hold off Dabini for this lap and one more, as Goldsmith is pushing as hard as possible now. Makes that move, very well done on Dabini, who's now going to chase him to try and get this final overtake. Leader now on the final lap. It's one more lap for Goldsmith to hold on to. Woolley has had a bit of an off at turn number 6, it seems, and has dropped down to P5. O'Leary now up in 4th place, as we've had White. That's White who's had a spin, and they're into the wall at turn number 5. That is unfortunate from White, who is still trying to push as hard as they can. Dabini is basically pushing Goldsmith down the straight. He defends to the inside of turn number 5. Dabini looks to go around the outside. Maybe could make that move stick at turn number 6. Goldsmith still holding it up the inside. Manages to just about get ahead of Dabini, but they're side by side again. A little bit of door banging as they come into the final corner of the final lap of the race. Dabini with a last lap dash for the lead and just about gets the overtake done. It's side by side across the line, but Dabini barely manages to take the win there. If the ending straight was a bit longer, Goldsmith might have just taken the win. Perkins with a fantastic podium finish after a tumultuous race. O'Leary finishes in 5th place, with Woolley recovering to P5. Mohammed in 6th. Larson 7th. Hughes is 13 seconds back from P7, but it looks like they are pretty set to finish in P8, really using all of that track and then some, as they come across the line for a P8 finish. Make that a P9 finish, as they seem to, maybe they ran out of fuel right at the end of the race. Bent making that move for P8. Yeah, it does look like they ran out of fuel, as They Don't Know comes across the line in P12. I think that was an off from Justman NG. De Dios and P14. Hughes. Wait, are there 2 Hugheses? Or am I...
2 Hugheses. I have no idea which one's which. There's just Hughes 1 and Hughes 2, and that's entirely depends on who's in the front of the other one.
So it would seem... Yes, there's an Alex and a Tom. I think we've got one in a black car, which is the Hughes we've been seeing, who finished in P8, and then there is the one in the white car who finished in 15th. So number 12 and number 13 cars. But yeah, Dabini just manages to clinch the win in the final corner of the final lap of the first race. What an insane last lap of this race that we've seen today. Goldsmith P2, fantastic battle from them. Unfortunately, just came out about, I think that was less than a tenth, the gap between the top 2 at the end. Perkins managing a lovely podium. O'Leary in 4th, Woolley in 5th, followed by Mohammed, Larson, Bent, Hughes, and White, who has reverse grid pole position. And that rounds off your top 10, and that concludes the first race of the Zwartkops round here in the BUSR Audi TT Cup series. Now, I would have said that race is more than enough action for one night, but you know what? We've got another one coming, and the top 10, in terms of the finishing results, have been reversed to give you a new grid for this second race, which should promote more overtaking and even more chaos and action up and down the track. That was madness.
Absolutely, yeah. It all started on lap 1. Goldsmith getting up the inside of Dobbini into turn 1, holding it around for turn 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the rest of the lap just about got past, held it for a while, then they changed the lead and then got it back again for Dobbini in the last corner. That is his 3rd overall win of the season. Just a word on Charlotte Perkins there. That's her first podium in the series so far, first overall podium. Massive mega drive from her. Unfortunate that Woolley got punted off or span off or whatever happened there, so he dropped a few places, but that's just going to give him a more beneficial start for race 2. But yeah, so much chaos up and down the grid, so many cars off left, right and centre, some cutting the track in half, some just not deciding to not go forwards anymore, some going backwards. It's just, yeah, classic touring car racing, and that's with the correct grid order. Like Larson, he basically did a reverse grid race on his own there, dropping back off the start, started the front half, and then got round, ended the first lap somewhere around the 13th mark, got back up into sort of P8, P9, 10, P8, 9, 8, and then up into P7 towards the end of the race there. So a good recovery, not a great recovery from him, but a good recovery. He's got to be one of the favourites for the reverse grid podium, though, because he's starting, essentially on the 2nd or 3rd row of the grid, whereas Dobbini will be starting all the way down in 10th. Not impossible he can come back from that, but going to be quite hard.
Yeah, we've seen Dobbini do some fantastic reverse grid drives. I believe the last time out, we saw them finish on the reverse grid podium and even challenging for the win at one point, up until they got involved in a little tangle at Lime Rock. But it definitely not impossible, though, with the nature of the track, with how short it is and how narrow the road itself is. Actually trying to make these overtakes, I would say, has proven difficult, but we've seen lots and lots of wheel-to-wheel action. So while it's not impossible for Dobbini, there's certainly going to be an element of challenge involved for them.
Absolutely, yeah. We haven't seen anybody do the double yet, but we have seen podiums and wins on the same race weekend. Like you said, Dobbini last Monday out, got a win and then a podium in race 2. So it's definitely possible to be up the front, but we've not yet seen the elusive double win. No one has gone first and then gone first again. Dobbini so far has got pole position and the race 1 win. Just needs to get the race 2 win to get that grand slam across the weekend. Obviously fastest laps as well included in that. If you want to be really, really specific, those will obviously be found out and then added to points totals later on. But yeah, maybe he could do a double. Maybe we'll see Goldsmith come through. Maybe Larson will stick near the front. Maybe Woolley recovering from that off in race 1. We'll have to see as we come towards the start of race 2 coming very soon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this has been one of the more interesting tracks. I mean, this calendar that we've had has been full of oddball tracks like Zwartkops and the Slovak Ring. And there have been a lot of really, really cool tracks that we've seen kind of throughout this calendar. South Africa, I believe, is one track or one country that has lots and lots of motor racing circuits. There are lots of permanent tracks that are kind of scattered throughout. But only 3 of which have hosted top-level motorsport events. The Fakisa Freeway, or Midval Raceway, has been host to a MotoGP venue. We also had Prince George Circuit in East London, which is not at all related to the London in the UK. In South Africa, that held the South African Grand Prix in 1934, and the most recent South African track to hold a Formula One Grand Prix is the Kyalami circuit, which we all know from international GT. There are also some other ones such as Killarney and Aldo Scribante, but the one we are on today, Zwartkops, is one of the few that is, I'd say, more well known. It's one of the few permanent tracks that are within the country, it's really cool to see an event like this, kind of showing these lesser known tracks. And Zwartkops only has the one South African Touring Car Championship, which I think is the only event that Zwartkops kind of has running there. But I mean, we've seen just how much action this track can provide, as it's about to provide some even more as we go into race 2. We go green for the second race of the weekend. It looks like a decent start from White, with Bent in second place. The number 12 of Hughes up, looking around the outside of turn number 1. There's been a little bit of a bump for Bent as Willie looks around the outside. Bent and White are now off, with the number 12 of Hughes leading the race. O'Leary down in P7 as White is trying to rejoin the track. Woolley is looks like they've slowed down a lot, and there is a red flag for the chaos at the start, it seems. So we're going to be restarting the race. It looks like. I have never seen that happen before. I didn't even realise that red flags were a thing in Assetto Corsa.
Evidently they are, yeah. Obviously, in real-life motorsport, you never want to see a red flag. That means something big has happened, but occasionally it's just because the sheer number of cars that have gone off just means that in this case the digital marshals have a lot of work to do. But of course, the cars all now will be back on the grid, getting ready to go again. Like you said, massive chaos there. Josh Woolley, one of the big losers, getting punted off there. But yeah, red flag, to restart again. Dominique's got to focus back in on that Honey's race start from 10th place, while we have White right up at the front there, who's just handled one race start and now has got to do a whole nother race start again. Those lights will come back on. All the adrenaline that just got dumped off the race start is going to come back to haunt him now as we see the under this red flag period. Evidently it is a thing. We've not seen one so far. We've had relatively clean lap ones, but I guess due to the slightly chaotic small nature of this circuit, we're going to have to start again.
Yeah, red flags, never something you want to see. And I mean, it's great that a lot of these sims kind of allow you to just kind of have this do-over. There's hopefully no real world injuries that happen, and there's no money that you lose from crashing your car into anything. At the end of the day, it's all pixels on a screen. So we can all just say, let's try that one more time and go again for the second race and a second attempt at it.
Yes, second attempt. Everyone gets a second chance. So if you messed up your start, then you're going to be breathing a sigh of relief. If you got a great start and are super proud of it, you're going to be annoyed and aiming to replicate that. Red flags are, well, weirdly, one of the great equalisers in motorsport, assuming that it's e-racing and that no one's had a crash. Of course, if this was real life, we'd now have a 20-minute delay and there'd be lots of people being very sad, with looking at lorries carrying off carcasses of Audis and just hearing money fall out of their pockets. But yes, we'll have to see what happens at the next restart. Is it a restart? Yeah, I guess it's a restart. The race obviously will be resumed as soon as everyone's on the grid and all the pre-grid procedures are done again. Because of course it is basically like the race never happened. We only got around to about turn 4 before we called it off. There, everyone's damage, I assume, will also be fixed. So if anyone got dented suspension, broken wings, or whatever, they will be back for race 2 coming up soon. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens in that.
Yeah, like a little magic wand does waves that says, your cars are now as they were at the start. We're just going to go one more time, see what our drivers can do. I suppose we should... I don't really know what to talk about during this interval. Well, actually, I don't have to talk about anything. There's no longer an interval, as we're going to see our 6 red lights come on for this race. The drivers are going to wait for anticipation. as we are lights out and away we go for the second race here at Zwartkops. It's an even better start from James White. Bent looking really quite good as we look like we're going 3 wide, a little bit further down the grid. Larson looking for that move on the outside. Looks cleaner through turn number 1 this time. Larson looking for the move on the outside of Mohammed as there is contact between the number 12 car of Hughes and Bent. And Larson runs wide onto the grass. They're going to try and rejoin, not in the way of anyone. They have lost out because of that. Woolley just behind, trying to chase down the top finishers of the race as Debigny looks like they might have fallen back a little bit at the start. Perkins doing a really, really good job keeping the car going. Debigny down, well, they're in P10, so they are looking to be exactly where they started. TRM managing to be just ahead of Debigny, holding them up. Again, all of our drivers that are really, really good at defending are going to be holding up Debigny as we see Bent go into the pit lane. Their suspension probably bent out of shape as they are going to try and repair damages, or maybe they're serving a drive-through. I don't even know. Maybe something's happened that I'm not sure of, but we've got Hughes. They might have jumped the start, we think, as Hughes is leading the race. The number 12 car of Hughes leading, but Mohammed in second place. O'Leary looking for a move up the inside, can't make that stick. Larson is still chasing that podium finish in the second race here. O'Leary looking for that move later on the brakes, but goes deep in the corner. Mohammed takes that right back. That's opened up the door for Aidan Larson to make a move up the inside. Masterfully done by the Australian driver. Through turn number 7 they go, and the final corner of 8, trying to maximise that exit. Goes a little bit wide, opens up the door a little bit for O'Leary. Well, goes very wide into the gravel, deploying a tactical smokescreen as O'Leary makes their way up into third place. They're going wheel to wheel into turn number 1. Perkins also looking for the move on O'Leary, who gets bundled a little bit wide as we go 3 wide between the number 13 of Hughes, as well as Perkins and Woolley, who is stuck in the middle as there's a little bump there between Woolley and O'Leary. The number 13 car, oh, and there is big contact there as O'Leary is sent flying off the track. I believe that was Butsy who'd made that. He'd made a little bit of contact with him. Debigny up into P7 now, after all of that chaos has happened, just carving their way through the grid at a really good pace. Larson looks like they are still in P3, still chasing down that lead, but Debigny ultimately is trying to I guess have that grand chelem that we haven't seen yet from any driver. But I think if there's anyone out there that's capable of doing it, I'd say Debigny's probably many people's best shout. We've seen some very dominant performances from the Frenchman, now looking to the outside of the number 13 car, just trying to maximise that kind of exit. There's still room on the outside of the number 13. Debigny holds it round the outside. The number 13 car of Hughes is going to be holding that inside line. Very respectful racing from these two drivers, but ultimately Debigny is able to carry higher speed throughout that corner, not having to take that inside line and scrub off more speed than they need to, taking that overtake and up into P6 now, chasing down Woolley, who's just about a second ahead of them. As we are now seeing Larson looking for a move on Mohammed, who is doing some really decent defensive driving here, using all of that curb on the inside. Bit too much there for Larson, who goes straight into the wall. Very unfortunate for our number 129 driver. Flicks the car back when there wasn't any traffic, and that's made Debigny's job a lot easier as they're now up into P5. Still chasing down Woolley, Perkins, Mohammed, and we've got the number 12 car of Hughes leading the race by just around 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's actually a weirdly big gap for this weekend of day of 2 seconds. Here we go, battling Goldsmith down with there in 10th, with Bent in 9th. Having a look up the inside there. 2 blue cars side by side, while Goldsmith going around the outside now. That'll be, there's a car off as well. Hughes has gone off from right at the front. That is race leader Hughes off on the exit of the corner there, through the gravel trap into the wall. That is Mohammed inheriting the lead. Perkins now in 2nd, Woolley 3rd, Daubigny 4th. Greensmith has now got up into P9. He's got a lot of work to do, considering that he started in 9th. He's now back into 9th. Evidently lap 1 did not go well for him, as he's trying to close up that gap. But as we see, his gap is 2.4 seconds to the Hughes, who just fell off ahead of us. And then it's 5.96 seconds up to the car ahead. Ryan Daubigny up in 4th. Here we go. Battle pack for the lead. Well, really, it's the podium, and then they're going to have to fight over the lead. Mohammed is going to be praying, but they will fight for a long time to let him run away. But given the pace of these 3 drivers, I think that's unlikely. I think our winner will come from this trio. And if I'm being honest, I think he's in the number 66. But yeah, here we go. Is he going to make a move? Having a look? No, just thinking about it. Everyone knows to tell. Sparks coming off Perkins' car. They're off the rear of that car. This is a close battle between these guys. The leader just hoping that nothing goes wrong. Here we go, Daubigny sideways, big slide, lock-up, going off the track there. That is not what we needed from Daubigny. Mistake from our championship leader, race 1 winner. Puts them well off the back. Well, I say well off the back, it's about a second. But in racing terms and TTs, that's a well off the back of Woolley. He's now got to make all of that hard work, all of that time, claw it back. Here we go, Woolley. Now he's thinking about taking up P2. He no longer needs to drive on his mirrors. He can drive on his windscreen. But wait, Daubigny's come back already. Look at that rapid pace there to claw all of that time back. He's still on the back now. Perkins having a look for the lead round the outside of Mohammed into turn 2. Can she make it stick with the extra grip going round? Holding it. Fastest lap for Owen Goldsmith in P9. He's using that clean air well, but it's Perkins right now that is trying to take the lead round the outside. The timing board says she has done. They're side by side coming round the corner. There she go. Perkins to the lead. Race leader has changed again now. Podium in for race 1, win for race 2 for Perkins. We'll have to wait and see. Mohammed in 2nd now. Just thinking, how am I going to hold on to this? There's still 12 minutes 50 to go. Here we go. Perkins in the lead. Mohammed P2. Woolley around the outside. A little bit of bumping maybe. Holding it. Mohammed gives up the place to Woolley. Let's go. Beaten. I don't know what happened there, but Woolley's taken P2. And Daubigny just sees the door open and just throws that Audi round the outside / the inside, depending on which corner you're talking about, to try and make it round. There he goes. Into the podium, places on the power for Daubigny as he comes down the home straight. Is he going to make it? Is he going to make it stick? Here we go, on the power. Mohammed up the inside of him into turn 1. Does he think about it? Daubigny runs wide off into the grass. Is he going to hit the wall? Is he going to get back on safely? There we go. Butsy coming round there. Now he's been brought into this fight. Wasn't it before? We'll have seen Daubigny go off and think, hang on a second, am I dreaming? Daubigny making mistakes? This can't be happening. He's made 2 in what, 3 laps now? 2 laps. Daubigny in P4 and seems to be struggling with the car for some reason. Made 2 errors in such a short space of time.
Yeah, it looks like them going off might have just thrown off their rhythm. I think the moment they have those mistakes, they start to creep in, and I think they get a bit more frequent because you get thrown off your rhythm, and it kind of becomes easier to make these mistakes. It's all about just having that focus, having that drive. And I think if Daubigny can regain this, they can definitely put up a really decent fight for the lead. That gap at the front has... well, I mean, we had Hughes off earlier. Perkins now leading as Bent looking for a move on Larson, who seems to go off. A little bit of contact between the two. Bent not afraid to get his elbows out and then some with, I believe that is White, just ahead, who does seem to be defending, but I don't think they're on the same lap. Going wide at the final turn to let them through, as we've got Zurek just behind, trying to make any sort of move that they can, lurking around the outside of Larson at turn number 1. Larson's managing to hold it in. Zurek looking for the move on the curb on the inside, just can't get the car turned in as quickly, and it looks like the car that Zurek's driving does have a little bit of damage. It looks like the bonnet is kind of popped up slightly, so it looks like there's probably a bit of front end damage there for the Traxian driver, as we've got Goldsmith looking up the inside of the number 13 Hughes car. Makes that move up into P7, turn number 5, simply done, up the inside, very, very decisive, as he's now got the Dios in P6 just ahead. That kind of half and half livery looking very, very striking on the track. Perkins leading by about half a second. Mohammed just behind Woolley by about 2 seconds. Dabini has managed to narrow that gap to Mohammed to just about a tenth, and is now piling on the pressure. This is all going to be about seeing how good Mohammed is at the defensive driving. Dabini looking for the undercut on the exit of the corner, couldn't make it work. 2 wheels in the grass as they're now basically pushing Mohammed through the corner, looking to have a really, really decent exit up the inside on the exit of turn number 4 into turn 5, looking to try and be later on the brakes. Very, very decisive move from the Flying Frenchman, managing to make their way up in a 3rd place, and now they're on the podium. And with just about 9 minutes left to go, they've got about a 3-second gap to close up to the leader. So this is looking very, very possible for Dabini to be the first driver in this series to take pole and victory in both races, as well as, I believe, fastest lap in both of them, but you'll have to correct me on that. Regardless, winning both races and getting pole is a fantastic, would be a fantastic achievement. If Dabini can make it so. Larson seems to be really, really struggling with the car, going off again at the final corner, maybe carrying a bit too much speed throughout. O'Leary is still trying to make that move, and you know, they've got Zurek just ahead of them, but Larson probably be kicking himself down in P13. Lots of these cars ahead we've seen Larson battle with before. Zurek looking to make a move on Bent, even with a damaged car. The traction car looks like it's really putting a lot of pressure on Bent this time around, who defends the inside for turn number 5. Zurek looks to the outside, tries to get that undercut, but they've gone a little bit wide. They've just invited White back into the battle, maybe to try and unlap himself. But regardless, having that extra car behind you is definitely going to put the pressure on, even if they're not on the same lap as you. Very easy to get distracted by stuff like that, as Goldsmith set a really, really decent lap there, up into P6. Dabini just about 6-7 tenths of a second behind second place. They can see the lead now. It is within touching distance, as they'll be able to basically just put on as much pressure as they can, dealing with a bit of lap traffic now. I believe that's TRM trying to give way to the cars ahead, as Woolley has had a huge slide through that corner, which will give Dabini plenty of impetus to get right past. And now there's only one car separating Dabini from, you know, complete dominance throughout this weekend. Little bit of a slide there on the apex of turn 8, as Dabini now has a 2.4 second gap to close up. So Perkins is going to have to put a lot of effort into trying to keep that gap where it's at, or if Dabini eventually catches up, just putting on the anchors and just trying to back them up into other cars, really just try and, you know, use all the defensive driving techniques that they have in their handbook. And I'm really excited to see this battle for the lead as we approach the final part of this race.
Absolutely, we've seen such a close battle from this podium now. Lots of changing around. All 3 of these drivers competitive in race 1 and just as competitive in race 2. That gap is the key thing you want to be watching. We might be looking at a battle of a 14th place, but keep one eye on that 1st-2nd gap there, because that is what's going to matter. Dabini looking for near enough full points. Fastest lap points are still up in the air. That driver now we're looking at there, Goldsmith, getting past Butsy for P5, has the fastest lap and is recovering well to get back up to the front, get some more points. Like I said at the start, this is not a full season entry. He missed the first, well, let's be honest, missed most of the first 8 rounds, only came in last round, got podiums, class wins, overall wins. There are points for fastest laps, I believe. However, those are decided later on, so we'll have to wait and see. Well, they're not decided later on, but, you know, people are still driving around, so they can still set more fast laps, or even fastest laps. You never know. We'll have to wait and find out. Goldsmith is 5th, though, and running quite well. So, yeah, he's going to be looking for points to get his championship back on, well, not on track. He's in 13th because he's missed all the rounds, but he's going to be looking for race wins, really. He doesn't care as much, looking for race wins. Butsy down in P13, evidently had a bit of an off there. O'Leary also having an off there, letting Larson up through into 10th. Larson having an absolutely rotten weekend. Nice train forming.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a train starting to form now behind Bent. I think a lot of the drivers have seen the kind of aggressive driving style of Bent, not afraid to get the elbows out, and maybe a little bit scared to kind of make that move. We've got White involved in this train here. Is technically lap traffic, but I know White's pace is nowhere near reflective of the current position that they're in. I think they got involved in an incident in lap 1, a little bit of a tangle. So we can see Bent is trying to defend the position from what is technically lap traffic, White trying to unlap himself, and Larson very cleverly trying to use White as a way of getting past Bent, hoping that he can kind of make that overtake work. O'Leary looking for that move on the lapped car of James White, who's currently all the way down in P16, which I'm sure there was a tangle earlier on in the race. But you know, White is sticking with this train and doesn't seem to want to give up that track space to the cars behind. Larson is really piling on the pressure onto Bent now, who, you know, is almost weaving on the straight. Does a really quick dart to the right hand side of the track. Larson to the outside of turn number 5 into turn number 6. Bent is just forcing him the long way round. There's contact between White and Larson. It goes from bad to worse for the Australian driver. The number 129 off the road and down a couple of positions. And yeah, again, this is why lap traffic is so important to try and navigate, especially if said lap traffic is actually a really, really quick car. You know, sometimes you have to think about cutting your losses, and unfortunate there from Larson, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. A bit of a tangle with White. Again, issue for the stewards to sort out, not for us to say anything, but just looked like an unfortunate positioning of the car from Larson there, who's now dropped down to P12 with a 5-second gap to the car ahead. Got about 3 minutes left of the race, and the gap between first and second has just gotten under 2 seconds. So, I mean, we've seen Perkins hold her own for most of this race, but it's all about this final part of the race where Dabini seems to turn on the jet boosters, and really they're just able to put down so much more speed in this final section of the race compared to a lot of the other drivers. Whether that's just their style of driving the car, or if maybe it takes them, it's taken them that time to kind of get back into their rhythm after some earlier mistakes and incidents and the like, as Dabini is going to be approaching some lap traffic now with just 1.6 seconds to P1. Absolutely,
yeah, the gap is smaller. Like I said, I've been watching it, or we've seen these other battles, it's dropped by about half a second, maybe 3/4 of a second. We've probably got 3 laps to go. Is that enough? It's one thing to catch, it's a whole nother thing to pass. Perkins is fighting for her debut overall win in the series, got the podium in race 1 here at Zwartkops, looking for that win in race 2. Now, that would be a lovely thing to add to her collection, lovely boost to her season, putting her higher and higher in the season standings there, navigating some lap traffic for Woolley. Evidently, he didn't get that right. He's dropped back slightly. Hughes having a fight for 7th and 8th. Couldn't tell you which one's leading. Not really important right now. We're focusing on the race lead. That gap has dropped to under a second now as we come towards the 1 minute mark on the race timer to go, dobbing the under a second now to Perkins.
Yeah, Perkins is going to have to pull out all the stops to try and get this her debut race victory. I mean, this would also be Dabini's biggest points haul in a race weekend, with a pole, a first in the first race, and a second in the second race. It just seems fitting, but Perkins is really going to have to pull out as much as they can to try and hold this lead, as I believe they're going to have this lap and one more to hold on to the lead, as that gap has come down substantially. I believe Dabini closed it by about 6/10 on that lap alone, as there's another 6/10 between the two. Dabini is going to try and maximise all of the track, and Perkins is going to have to try and just defend for her life. It would be incredible to see them really just on top, to see those two fighting, and most importantly, to see Perkins get her first overall win of the season. We know that she's very capable of it. Seems to have a really good time around this track. Dabiny's trying the same stuff that they did on Goldsmith in race 1, trying to get in the mirrors, make them make that mistake, and it looks like they might have just wiggled Perkins off the line. Who's holding the inside, just manages to stay ahead, but this is going to go down to the wire again. We've seen just how much pressure Dabiny's been able to pile on the final lap of the race, and that's what we've come on to now, as Perkins and Dabiny are basically inseparable on the track. Perkins defending to the inside. Dabiny looked to the inside but had to go to the outside. Almost ran into the gravel there. Just trying to use all of the track. Perkins holding that inside line, just trying to make that Audi ahead wide enough to stop the Flying Frenchman from clinching another first place. The gap between the top two, just about 3.5 tenths of a second, as Dabiny is trying to use that slipstream as much as they can, braking now into turn number 5. Little bit of a lock-up from Perkins. Dabiny looks to the outside, 2 tyres in the gravel. That's definitely going to slow them down a little bit. Perkins is basically being pushed through the final couple of corners now. 2 tenths the gap as in the final corner they go. We saw Dabiny make a move on the first race at the final corner, but not this time. Perkins takes their first class victory, overall victory. It is pink on top as Perkins wins the race. Dabiny in second, Woolley clinching out a podium, Goldsmith finishing P4. Fantastic drive from them, with Mohammed in P5. We've got De Dios in, I believe that is the, is that the anime car? I can't see the other side. We've got the number 13 Hughes in P7, Bent in P8, the number 12 Hughes in 9th, O'Leary in 10th, Zurek in P11, Larson in 12th, Just Managing in 13th, White as lapped traffic in P14, TRM in 15th place, they don't know, in P16 coming across the finish line now. The number 77 car is going to be crossing in P16 and be our final finisher of the day. It is a day of triumph for Perkins, who takes her first overall victory in the series. Dabiny just unable to get past Perkins, finishing P2. Woolley rounds off the podium in the Tron Audi with Goldsmith P4, Mohammed P5, followed by De Dios, the number 13 Hughes, followed by Bent, the number 12 Hughes, and then O'Leary rounds off your top 10 finish, as we're seeing the higher placed Hughes doing reverse donuts and hitting the other Hughes. It's all getting very confusing. A little pun there. I'm so sorry. Absolutely fantastic final race. Perkins able to withstand the pressure from Dabiny behind and clinch her first overall victory of the series.
Absolutely, we've seen it. There it is. The double has eluded the French. The Flying Frenchman, it is been alluded. We've got a new race winner. That is massive points for Perkins. She's got podiums before in class, got her first overall podium just 25 minutes ago, and now has finally got that elusive race win, beating Dabiny. That is going to be a massive boost to her confidence going into the second half of the season. Now, we're going to have some interviews coming up very shortly with our race and overall and class winners, and I think if we can get her in here, we might as well start with Perkins now, as she, she just won. We might as well interview her now while the adrenaline's still pumping. So we'll get her in the broadcast room very soon. But yeah, overall, hello there.
Hi.
Greetings. Welcome to the interview room. Congratulations on your first overall win in the Audi TT Cup series. Tell me, how does it feel to manage to withstand that pressure behind and take your first victory of the series?
Quite stressful. Luckily, I had enough push to passes to help me on the exits, but I had to go really defensive into those tight corners to stand any chance of staying ahead.
Definitely. And in terms of defensive driving, what do you feel like was the key to you winning today? How were you able to withstand that pressure? What goes through your mind while you're defending, while you're under this pressure?
Just stay committed to my line. Signal early intent that I want the inside line. So you can't make a late lunge into the slow corners because it's so hard to overtake around the outside.
And have you had a chance to look ahead to week 5? Off to Brazil, into Lagos, a track that's better known, shall we say? Have you done any practice? Have you even thought about it yet? Or are you just focusing on each week as it comes?
The track I'm looking forward to, I've always liked Interlagos. It's just I'm not going to enjoy my car actually being heavier now. Considering the success ballast will now definitely impact me.
Well, there's a price to pay for all those sweet championship points, but congratulations on your race win, and we hope to see you back here very soon for another one next weekend. Well, next Monday, sorry.
Yep. Thank you.
I think we can now pull in another one of our winners another one of our class winners, because of course she was our overall race winner.
Indeed. So I believe we could pull in Goldsmith, who put in a really good challenge for second place in the first race. And here we go. Welcome back to the interview room, Mr. Goldsmith. Fantastic challenge you put up in the first race. A real shame to get that overtake in the last corner. What was going through your head during those final couple of laps in that first race?
Yeah, so I mean, the very first race, I continue my streak of not turning up for any practice. Mostly this time around, I was trying to battle with Sol because for some reason last week my lighting was looking like morning/evening. Turns out I needed to go to weather effects and get that sorted. Got that sorted, but missed practice. Qualifying was my practice, and I'll be honest, I kind of just felt comfortable after just a couple of laps tuning in, asking some advice from the people who had actually been practicing. So James, Aidan, Adam, Josh. Just really putting in the laps because we had 20 minutes worth. Just getting acclimatized, and then all of a sudden I see, hang on, how am I P2? So that was a huge motivation booster. Kept that momentum through quali. Race-wise, I know that Ryan has got ballast, so I tried to make a charge up the inside in the very first race. Managed to lead for a few laps. Just unfortunately a mistake cost that lead. There was also a bit of door banging here and there. My damage indicator was popping up, but it wasn't, anything too egregious or, deliberate. It's just, I'm just going to say just Robin's racing. It's just touring car stuff. So, no, it was a good fight in the first race. Was expecting hopefully to be a tiny bit clearer. With the actual tyres, I could see he's on mediums thanks to CMRT, but I think the tyre wear for him was slowly biting away at the end. But yeah, to pretty much answer the question fully, I just used my last little bit of overtake at the wrong moment. I feel like if I used it coming out of the final corner, I might have just edged him out for a photo finish.
Yeah,
but no, it was a fun race. Like, that was super fun. I love this track.
Yeah, one of the lesser known tracks on the calendar. Next week we've got Interlagos coming up. Would you say that the racing will be better at Interlagos, a more well-known track with a little bit more space for the cars to go around?
It's going to be tough to say. I'm expecting lap times to be fairly highish 1 minute, maybe even no. I think just highish 1 minute, but I'm not great for estimates. I do think the extra space will definitely help. But it's going to be a challenge, like Interlagos is mostly associated with Formula One, where they do crazy lines with the amount of downforce they do. And me personally, that's really the only time I've played it in sim racing. Maybe couple of GT3, GT4s in Gran Turismo Sport, but no, it should provide quite a good show. Tighter tracks do as well. I bet you guys had an amazing time on stream. I really need to go back and watch it because in the cockpit there was some really good moments, especially in the second race. But no, I'm looking forward to Interlagos. It should be a fun little challenge for these cars.
Yeah,
and hopefully the lobby shares that opinion.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll see you again at the next interview. Dan, do you have any extra questions?
I'm just going to check with you now, Owen. Are you going to practice before next race, or is qualifying your practice once again?
Am I allowed to plead the fifth? No, I genuinely I don't necessarily know. It's all dependent on schedules, but also this last week I'm going to say a bit unwell-ish. I don't know how to describe it per se, but it was just I was so exhausted, and today's really been the actual first proper day where I was actually like, okay, let's get some stuff done. And I just arrived a bit home late from some errands I had to run, but no, provided that I'm free for most of the stuff, I'll get on early, practice a bit, and see how I stack up, especially as I'll probably have some quite heavy ballast now.
That's all I have to say. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
That's right. Thank you very much, guys.
And I think now we're going to bring in the other student class winner, obviously finished on the podium as well, Mr. Josh Woolley. If we can get him in here, we'll interview him. Hello there, Josh.
Hello, hello.
So, how are you feeling? You obviously did quite well, but also had quite a few offs in race 1 and race 2, and with the red flag and stuff. So, just talk us through what happened on those lap 1s.
Utter chaos. Somehow, as is always the case, I somehow appear towards the front, even though I don't have the pace to be at the front. So, not entirely sure how that happened again. But yeah, I just thought, why not send it round the outside of the hairpin of turn 2? Probably safer, and lo and behold, it was safer because everyone on the inside died, essentially.
So are you happy with your finishing position? I'm guessing you're happy then, given your comments with your finishing positions. Not quite the overall win, but definitely some class wins and podiums.
Yeah, race 1, a little annoyed that I dropped it. Luckily, I only lost a position, even if that was to another student. So, bit of a pain there. But race 2, fairly happy. Unfortunate to get punted by a back marker and lose the opportunity to fight for the win. But yeah, happy with solid points, and I'm still well in the fight for student class win.
Is that always been the aim, or is that kind of an aim that's appeared over time?
It kind of appeared after round 1. I came into it expecting to be positively average, and then round 1 arrived, and I somehow was leading the championship, and it kind of materialized into we're almost halfway, or I think we're over halfway through the season now at this point, and I'm still there, which is nice. So yeah, definitely the aim to fight for the championship, but we'll see how things go.
I mean, that's all I have to say. Frey, have you got anything else to add to that one before we move on to our final interview?
No, honestly, I think you covered all bases there. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. Thank you for being with us here, Josh. Hopefully we can see you again in the interview box some point in the future.
Cheers, guys.
And I believe we might have just one more interview lined up with, I believe, their best result of the season so far. This is the number 16 car of Alan de Dios, who I believe we're going to bring in right now. And welcome to the commentary box, Mr. de Dios. Your best result of the season so far.
Yeah.
Just want to say congratulations for that. How do you tackle racing these cars?
It's definitely different than the cars I've usually driven in AC or in iRacing. I'd say it was pretty easy to learn. However, I was adjusting to new pedals since I just did upgrade the load cells. So every kind of race has been like practice for me. And I think I got it down today.
That's always good. And would you say, in terms of sim racing, that better equipment always equals better results, or do you think it just depends on the person and kind of how they prefer to drive?
I believe it depends on the person and how they use their equipment. I don't think it's like gear. Gear does help, but all in all, you can have the best gear, but the driver can still be bad.
Yeah, or you could have a fantastic driver who wins championships and puts an esports pace on a G29. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, I think, for drivers who are maybe just getting into sim racing to learn something like this. And in terms of this race today, how do you think you did? Your best result of the season? What would you chalk that down to?
I feel like I did good, but I could definitely do better. Since in the first race I don't think I was doing as well as I was in the second race, as well as the races before this race today. I feel like I could have done better, so well in terms of pacing and learning the tracks earlier, and just finding good brake markers.
Fair enough. Dan, do you have any other questions?
No. I mean, have you looked forward to the rest of the season? Are you going to be continuing on pushing higher up, or is it very much a one and done kind of job?
I'm definitely gonna look forward throughout the season. I can't wait to race everyone else in open class and just everyone in general. It's such a nice environment to be in, and I love racing with you guys, even though I don't talk much in VC.
Well, it's always nice to have more people here, and I think that will conclude our interviews for now, unless we have any extra questions.
No, I think that's all. I think that's all we've got time for anyway. They're coming up on nearly on the 2-hour mark for the stream, so I think we're going to finish up pretty soon. So yeah, thank you for interviewing us.
Yeah, thank you.
And I believe that is it for today's race. It has been a hectic one, and to be quite honest, I think I need to lie down after that. So thank you all for joining us today for another fantastic race here in the BUSR. I have been Frey, joined in the commentary box by Dan. Do you have any more closing comments before we end stream?
I'm just going to say we're only halfway through the season. Imagine doing everything we've just seen again. If that's no motivation to come back, I don't know what is.
Yeah, more to look forward to as next week we head to round number 5 as we're going to Brazil for our next round at Interlagos, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
There is no place and no moment in history where I could stand and say, British begins here, now.